The next piece of 17 Hills to overdub was strings. I started with a string section called Ethel, and to prepare for working with them, I actually used an East-West sample collection, setting up different parts for two fiddles and viola and cello. This is what the bridge sounded like with just the backing track, the way we recorded it in the studio before I put on the strings.
If I can bribe some crooked lawyer to smuggle in a hacksaw blade, tight tables and a yard or two of twine, I'll ride the driftwood in the bay. My fate.
And this is the arrangement that I did with just the East-West sampled strings. And now here are just the Ethel tracks on their own. With all of the dynamics and humanity that you would expect from real instruments. But hey presto, add a little bit of the sample strings back in and a touch of acoustic guitar and your vocals, and the magic starts to happen.
If I can bribe some crooked lawyer to smuggle in a hacksaw blade, tight tables and a yard or two of twine, I'll ride the driftwood in the bay. Yeah, let the wind decide my fate.
I've just come up onto the roof of my wheelhouse to catch the last few rays of sun, which seems to set about 2 o'clock in the afternoon in England in winter. My turbine is down right now, alas. There was a big storm the other day, and one of the blades cracked off, which is not what you want to hear, because turbines get a bad enough rap as it is. But unfortunately I've lost a blade and I have to send off to America to get a replacement blade. However, I can get by for now with just the solar panels. On days like today when there's enough sunshine, I can still charge up the batteries and do some useful work in the studio. So another amazing musician I'd worked with at TED is Natalie McMaster, who is a very fine Cape Breton fiddler. She played a couple of times at TED, and the second time she came with her husband, her new husband, Donnell Leahy, who is also a fiddler, but from more of a sort of mainland Canadian tradition. I was really excited when the tracks came back in from Nova Scotia, and I found that I had solos not only from Natalie but also from her husband Donnell. So I stuck them up on Pro Tools and listened to them one by one, and some of them were really amazing. Well, they were both technically fantastic. Donnell's was really amazing, but just didn't have quite the right feel. And the moment I put Natalie's solo on the track, it had that great sort of Gaelic Celtic vibe to it, which was really what I wanted. I think I came up with the idea for 17 Hills while I was windsurfing on the San Francisco Bay in the middle of the 1990s. And I would often sail there at Crissy Field, which is under the Golden Gate Bridge. Quite a fierce piece of water, an advanced place to windsurf. And as I was zooming back and forth, or more likely floundering around in the water trying to get back on my surfboard, I saw Alcatraz in the background, and I would often think about the guys stuck there on Alcatraz, looking across the bay at San Francisco, which must have seemed so very near. It's hard to believe because it's so close to the city, but in fact the bay is a very dangerous place. It's very windy, very choppy, and the wind can shut down in the summer. A big fog bank rolls in under the Golden Gate Bridge and everything shuts down. And if you're sitting on a windsurfer or a bundle of driftwood like the guy in my song, the tide's going out at 6 or 7 knots and you're likely to end up in the Farallone Islands, which are about 20 miles off the coast of California if you don't become shark bait first. I discovered something rather amazing about the song, which is that the intro and outro of the song are sung very much in the voice of a narrator, possibly myself years later as an old man. And so it was perfectly natural to have that be a different sound, a little bit more world-weary. So I ended up using the original guide vocal track for the intro and outro and replacing the middle part of the song, the verses, with my newer, more technically accurate track. But this is a problem that you always have when you do vocals, is that there's something fresh about the way you put it down on the night. You hope you can use it, but sometimes the elements weren't always there. You know, there was something wrong and something that prevented you from using it. So I'm not the first person to have this dilemma.
The silhouette of those beautiful hills, it's right at the end of this old storm drain. The city rises on 17 hills, 17 hills from the bay. Last thing I saw was all 17 hills in between crests of the ocean waves, the towering crests of the ocean waves.
So this pretty much brings to a close the dissections of my Americana EP, or post-mortem as some like to call it. The Americana EP, as you probably know, is the first of 3 parts to my upcoming album, A Map of the Floating City. And I'm delighted to be able to announce that part 2, Oceaneer, is going to be released on November the 29th as a digital EP at thomasdolby.com. You need to be a registered member of the Flat Earth Society in order to download the EP from my website. I've got a few more songs to record and mix, and then the album will be out hopefully in the spring. In the meantime, I hope you've enjoyed the series. It's been lots of fun to do. Many thanks to all the people that have helped me with it. The vlogs for Oceaneer I'm going to do slightly differently. I want you to send me questions that you have about the songs or about my method of recording, the lyrics, anything, you know, what I had for breakfast this morning. Just put them in an email to fanmail@thomasdolby.com and I'll answer them as best I can in the next vlog. So in the meantime, look out for the EP on November 29th, and thanks a lot for coming, and I'll see you next time.